crowd that jumped up and said, I killed him.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. And that guy, wasn't he at the Boston bombing
He
as
was
well?
so he's a professional agitator who's been at tons and tons of these events. Later, he's found, I believe, with kiddie porn, right?
How convenient.
Well,
Well, also,
maybe
that's the kind of guy.
That's the kind of guy, though, right?
Yeah.
And so he has been at tons of events agitating, and he is well known to law enforcement for doing this. So that's kind of what they're stating for him. If you're looking at this from a broad view, if you're looking at the conspiracy side versus what they call the Fed slop side, let's say, it makes sense for them to say, hey, wait a second, that's really weird. This guy jumps up and says, I did it.
Right.
That makes he's a patsy, distraction, something like this. Until you look into the guy.
Right.
And the guy is a lunatic who's been at many of these events doing crazy stuff like this.
That's the thing, is both things can be true.
Mm-hmm.
Like MK Ultra is real. Also, that guy might just been a kook who's in the crowd who took advantage of a situation because he's literally insane and he's into kiddie porn.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt. One of the biggest kind of false narratives that comes out of this, when I do debates, one of the things I'm trying to structure around is like, I know that we're coming in with a narrative, but I need to understand yours, and you need to understand mine so we can get somewhere towards what the truth is here, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're going to have a frame of which you're viewing the world, a worldview, and so am I. And so everybody has a worldview. We have to figure each other's out to get somewhere. Here with this, one of the most disturbing aspects of it is the people who promote this actually don't want their worldview or their positions to be examined. They only want to examine the evidence from the state. It's like that would be fine, I think, if it was the case that you made no claims past that.
Right.
So if you just only say, hey, I'm not really sure what happened, and I want to really kind of review the evidence, and that's that, I don't really have a problem with that. I think that that's probably healthy. The issue that I run into is when people make claims past that. Oh, it was an exploding mic.
Right.
It was 2 different shooters. It was a folding rifle. It was the 30-06 couldn't do this, even though the U.S. Army, remember, the 30-06 used in the M1 Garand was used in World War II, and then it was used in Korea. Before that, we had the 03 Springfield. It was used heavily in World War I, World War II, and again in Korea. The U.S. Army has studied 30-06 entry wounds in depth and produced many manuals on it explaining how cavitation works with 30-06 and that the bullet doesn't always penetrate. And that's with full metal jacket rounds that are designed for maximum penetration, not 150 grain core locked coming out of an antique rifle, essentially. It could easily split up very quickly. And that's why they ended up pulling fragments out of Charlie. It wouldn't surprise me if when we have all of the data from the coroner report that he has tons of shards all throughout his chest, all throughout his entire, because they were saying that there's trauma inside the chest, which would make sense if the bullet split up here.
Right.
It would create all sorts of fragments down in the chest.
Right. That is an important distinction about the type of bullet.
It's not as fun.
Huge distinction. The FMJ especially, because that's what the Army was using, is FMJ ball ammunition. It's cheap to produce, right? So they're using it in all these different wars. And the amount of people shot with that caliber between World War I, II, and Korea is astronomical. They even used the 30-06 in Vietnam in limited capacity, especially the 03 Springfield. It was still in service by special forces. Wow. So the question becomes, like, the U.S. Army has studied this in depth, and I went back and I pulled all their manuals, and I even put them out, and several people have done the exact same thing and put them out explaining how cavitation works. And they're saying, look, the energy dissipation, the second it hits a human body, it dissipates very, very, very quickly with the resistance. So it doesn't always go through. Now, oftentimes it does with the FMJ, but even then, it didn't always go through. So, it's a well-studied phenomenon. Another one would be Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King gets hit through the jaw, ends up here. Well, if it's just going to blow through all bone, why did it stop in him? Well, it's because the second it has impact, it begins to slow down, and then it impacts something else, slows down even more. So it's totally possible that this guy was hit with a 30-06. I don't know why that would be in the realm of impossibility. We have enough data on the ammo to know that, yeah, it's very possible this happened.
I guess. I mean, I like hearing the other side sometimes.